Okay, good morning, everybody.
Morning, sir.
So I will wait for a few more people to join. It is, I think many people are yet to come in. All right, so I think let me just begin by making a few announcements. So let's get started. Okay, so yeah, so some announcements. So first thing, we are going to have a quiz tomorrow. So that's the first thing. So what I recommend as a study is like the syllabus, first of all, is completely all the discrete random variable. So I also taught in the extra videos that I sent, I discussed even conditional PMFs. I discussed memorylessness, all those things I have taught. So you can go through this. Like especially special point is that go through the MIT tutorials and recitals. Okay, go through all these things which are relevant for this particular syllabus. Okay, just ensure that you read all of these. So the quiz will be at the end of tomorrow's class. So that's it. So that's about the quiz. Midterm. So midterm again, I have not yet to hear from the department, the admin, the academic section. So the way I think is that midterm is going to be held on October 19th, which is Monday. Okay. So this may change, but if it doesn't, it is going to be from October 19th, 10 a.m. 1 a.m. 1 p.m. Okay, so 3 hours. Okay, so yeah, so I will send, I'll confirm this. So the syllabus for this again is essentially all that is discussed in the MIT lectures. Sorry. So lectures 1 to 11. Okay, all of these content. But I do understand that I did not personally talk about continuous random variable fully. But so continuous random variable, expect that we will not ask too many questions, but there will be a few questions based on what I teach today and tomorrow and whatever is covered. Some of the easy things that are covered in 1 to 11. So continuous random variables, do read it, but yeah, so we will ask kind of simple questions for this. So the format of the exam. So there will be a multiple choice questions. So this will be the first thing. This will be like Google form. It will close in the first half an hour, first 20 minutes or half an hour, 20 or 30 minutes. Okay. So this, I will try to keep this high weightage for this so that everybody is able to secure this marks easily. And then descriptive type questions. There will be 7 questions. And then programming, there will be 2 questions. Okay. Yeah, so this is the format for midterm. Midterm. So that's about it. So any question regarding the quiz, midterm, or anything else?
Sir, I have a doubt regarding the last video that you uploaded, lecture 12, part 4,
Mhm.
the cumulative.
Okay, so I will come back to that. So, Siddhant, you asked me again. Let me just first ask if anyone has any other questions related to quiz or midterm first. I will come back to your question.
Sure, sir.
Yes, anybody else related to quiz or midterm first? Let's first take some questions related to that. Everybody fine?
Sir,
Yeah.
yes, sir. Regarding the midterm, talking about the section wherein the programming questions would be asked.
Yeah.
Like the questions would be something or on the same lines as what has been asked in the assignment 2, or
Okay,
or it could be
so
something.
yeah, so basically, what did you learn? So in assignment 2, you got some familiarity with how to. So what the assignment 2 is asking you is what is called as simulations. Okay, so you simulate random variables and then you perform experiments to derive estimates. Okay, and then you repeat the estimates to get a histogram of estimates, right? This is what essentially you have been doing. So the questions will be somewhat similar themed. Okay, so you are supposed to simulate something, you are supposed to draw conclusions. Okay, and I will try to give you some hints as to what to do. But yeah, so it will be, so do the assignments well, like do it early, and if you have any questions you ask me. Spend some time looking at all kinds of simulations in the internet. If you search for simulations of random variables, and there might be some resources, you just check it out. So but yeah, essentially the questions will be in around this theme. Have I answered your question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Anybody else? So Twisha, your question on quiz I will answer, but on the midterm, anyone else has any questions? All right. So tomorrow's quiz will be in the last 15 minutes. So last 15 or 15 to 20 minutes, let's say. Last 15, 20 minutes tomorrow. Okay. So Twisha, does that answer your question? Okay. All right. So I have we have noticed that the attendance is coming down for this class. So please remember that class participation also includes attendance, and the class participation also has been very low because only a few people are participating. I'm okay even if you send me emails or chat messages or something like that, so that we know, you are trying to learn the course. So please take part in the course, ask us questions. All right, so that will be useful. And also do not miss classes. If there is something about the class which you don't like, let me know and we can try to work on that. But don't miss classes, not at this stage. Okay. All right. Okay, so then
Hello?
coming back to Siddhant's question. Yes,
Hello?
Siddhant, go ahead.
No, this is Rohit.
Yeah, okay, Rohit, first you go, then we'll ask Siddhant. Yeah, Rohit, what's your question?
In the second assignment, there are two questions that I wanted to talk about. The first is the Monte Carlo integration. So it says, please report a distribution, not a single value. So just to confirm the graph, the x-axis will be the number of samples chosen and y-axis will be the resulting value of the integral for those number of samples, right?
Yeah, let me think what you are asking. The x-axis will be the range of values that you got. So the estimate values, range of estimate values. Okay. So this will be frequency. So you are supposed to give me a histogram. So you are going to see something. Yeah. You are going to see something like this. Not the number of samples. You are going to see something like this. So this is on Monte Carlo integration of root of sin x.
Okay, so the histogram. And in the and there's also a Monty Hall problem. For that also we should provide the histogram or some kind of a graph that X is the number of experiments and Y is the probability.
Yeah, so for that,
choosing X.
for that, what you can do on the x-axis, you can show the number of estimates as you are like number of repetitions.
The trials, yes, sir.
Yeah, so you can like as it keeps increasing, how the value converges to something or not, that kind of a thing.
Okay, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
so for the two strategies, one is don't switch, another one is switch. So switch will be somewhere lower, but yeah, something like this. Okay,
Switch
so
will be higher. The probability of switch is more than the
oh
probability.
yeah, all right. Okay, yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So okay, so these two. So finally, Siddhant, your question on CDF, what is that?
Yes, sir. Sir, in CDF, there was a part, the second part, which is f of b, where b tends to minus infinity. Limit b tends to minus infinity. But sir, b can't go to minus infinity. B is limited to 0, right?
Okay, so
Because
so
eventually, sir, essentially, our x has to be smaller than b
So the-
goes for each x, right? But our x starts from 0. X.
yes,
Yeah.
I totally agree that for all the examples that we have seen in the class, our x that we saw was either starting from 0, 1, 2, 3 like this, or it was 1, 2, 3 like this, right? Something like this. But what I can do is I can define y is equal to minus x. Suppose if I define this. Okay, so now if I look at CDF of y, the values that it will take is minus 0, minus 1. So minus 0 is anyway 0, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, and so on. Now, sorry, this is the distribution. So distribution of y will be in this values. Is that okay, Siddhant? This can happen, right?
Yes, sir.
So now if this does happen, how will the CDF look?
0, minus 1, minus 3, minus 6, something like that.
So at 0, it will be 1. At 0, it will reach 1. At this some other value like minus 1, it will be it will drop off to some other point. So it will be something like this. Okay. It keeps on going. And so this is your real axis. So this is 0 and this is your positive 1, positive 2, positive 3. This will be negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. So now in this example that I just constructed for you, what you can see is f is having negative values also. So it is not necessary that fb can only take 0. It can take 0 only for the examples that we saw. Yes, there it is true, but you can define random variables such that it is supported in the entire real number. It is having mass in entire real number. You can define something like this.
So just another thing regarding this same situation over here.
Okay.
So sir, in this case, if we have to plot the probability mass function, right? Then we'll be taking cursive x, the little x over there, right? So those will be positive values, right?
No. If you are drawing the PMF of y, suppose if you are drawing the PMF of y for different values of y, so for 0 it will be some value, then it will be for minus 1 it will be some value, for minus 2 it will be some value, like this.
Yeah, essentially all are positive, like probability cannot be negative, right?
Probability cannot be negative, but what is the number here? Okay, so that is your confusion. So if I say f of b, it's not saying that, it's saying what is the probability that the random variable takes a value less than or equal to b. Random variable can take a value less than or equal to b, but f of b is always greater than 0. That is correct.
Oh, okay, sir. Yeah,
okay, so this is 0. It is, I totally agree with you. CDF is always positive. Has it helped your confusion, or what's the status? You understand?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it cleared the stuff. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So anybody has any other questions? Okay, so let me just begin with today's class then. So So today we are going to begin a new chapter. So this is called as continuous random variables. Okay, so this is a new unit, and yeah, so basically what we have been studying. Yeah,
Sir,
go
few
ahead.
students.
Excuse me, sir.
Few
Sir,
students
somebody
are. Yes. Sir.
asking questions on the chat.
Oh,
Please
okay,
have a
okay.
look.
So okay, for the assignment I have okay, Advay, that is also fine. If you have done that, it's okay. So what Advay has done is he has repeated the experiment multiple number of times to get a distribution. That is okay. If you have done that, it's still okay. So for Kunjan's question, there is a Monty Hall problem with 4 doors. Do we need to consider the case first as the door host opens 2 doors with the goat, and second as the host opens 1 door with the goat? Yeah, these are 2 variants. I'm happy if you can do one of the things. It's not necessary that you have to do both, but if you do both, you will learn more. So it's up to you. I think it's not too difficult to go from one to the other. I think the difficulty is in the 1 door. This is a little more challenging than 2 doors. So do try it out. Even if you don't submit, it's fine, but do try it out. Okay, I'm okay as long as you do one of the 2. Yes, so that's about it. So Advay, any other questions? Kunjan, have I answered your question? Okay, so let's come to continuous random variables. Okay, so this is yeah, the next unit I was telling. So this is on continuous random variables. So let's try to understand this a little bit. So what we have been studying so far was discrete random variables. So discrete random variables are those measurements. So I told you, right? So random variable is you have an omega, and then you are making a measurement, and that gives you a real number. Okay. This is a measurement we can think of. Discrete random variables are measurements which are by definition discrete. So what does that mean? See, suppose if you look at number of customers who arrive in a store. Okay, so at any time for a time window of 1 hour, or if you just keep observing the number of customers who arrive in a store, it is always going to be a whole number. You may have nobody, but you will never have half a person coming in. Okay, so these are the random variables which by nature itself they are discrete. Okay, so these are for these things what we learned were concepts like this. So when we take px of x, when we sum over all the x, okay, when we did this we got this as 1. We also learned that this is greater than 0, and then yeah, so these are the types of things that we have been doing. For CDF, we saw the definition of expectation of x. So that was, this. So small x belongs to capital X of omega. So these are the things that we have been studying for discrete random variables. Now, if you see continuous random variables, these random variables are measurements which cannot be discrete. Okay, so if you, for example, take a measurement of a, so if you consider a population of human beings, so this is your omega, and then if you measure x, which is let's say height, okay, so this is a number which cannot be distinct, right? Because see, if you measure somebody's height today, some child's height today, it may be let's say 50 centimeters, but after some days when you measure it may be 80 centimeters. And it is that the child has not grown like suddenly from 50 centimeters to 80 centimeters. The child has grown slowly between this range. It has taken all possible values in this range. Okay, so continuous random variables are the ones where the range x of omega is uncountable. Okay, and so even you can think of it as like smooth. So there are no sudden jumps. All right, so this is an example of continuous random variable. We have seen this continuous random variables or the uncountable space already. We have seen it in the context of probability axioms. Okay, so let me just go through that thing once again, because there are some concepts that we all need to understand well. Okay, so recap a little bit, but this is going to be very useful. So what we did was, like, you have a stick. So the stick is, let's say, 0, 1. Okay, and recap is stick breaking example. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, like, pick one point uniformly. Okay, I will not try to put more points here or here or here or anything. I'll just pick very uniformly, as unbiased as possible. I'll pick a point. Okay, so basically what I'm going to say is X is the random variable which denotes a point picked uniformly in this stick which is represented as a closed interval 0, 1. So I'm picking a point randomly at this. Okay, and we have already seen this before, but if I ask you a question like, what is the probability that X belongs to the interval 0 to 0.5? Okay, we have seen this, and then if you recollect this, since I'm taking half the length of the stick here, this is going to be half. Okay, so in general, if I take let's say 2 lengths, a length delta here, a length delta here, probability that X falls in an interval of length delta is equal to the length itself, which is delta. So these things we have already seen. Okay, so now what the whole idea when we come to continuous random variable is, we have to conceptualize how do we do all the kinds of things that we were doing here. Like, we were able to tell what is the probability of, so for example, if I wanted to tell if X was discrete, and if I wanted to tell what's the probability that X is taking a value in this range B, we were just going to sum all the values. We were doing something like this, right? So we want to be able to do this whole calculation when we come to continuous. That's the whole idea. And here is a proposal, and you just see if this makes sense. So the proposal is, I will draw what is called as CDF, probability density function. So I will draw what is called as probability density function. So what I will do for this particular example of uniform is that I will draw a density like this. Okay, so between 0 to 1, the value is 1. So what I'm saying is, this density function f of X is equal to 1 when X belongs to 0 to 1, and it is 0 elsewhere. Okay. Now, what is the benefit? It doesn't seem to have done anything. I've just drawn a figure, but what is the benefit here is that, suppose if I want to measure, like, what's the probability that, if I want to find out what is the probability that X lies, so this interval, let me call it as I1, X belongs to this interval I1, what you do is, you just look at area under the curve of the density, probability density function, or PDF. So let's try to do that. So area under the curve. So if I have to do that, it is just going to be this shaded area. Okay. So what is that? So the width of this is delta. The height of that is 1. So this is equal to delta. So this seems to solve, at least for the uniform random variable, this seems to give a way as to how to calculate any area, how to calculate probability of any interval. So if I have something like this here again, all I have to do is I just have to take this area and I get the probability. Okay. So mathematically, what that gives us is a formula. So probability that X belongs to an interval or a range B is just going to be the integration over that range. And this probability density function, I'm going to represent it as fx of small x. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. At least for uniform, I hope everybody is convinced that this approach works. Okay, so this is going to give us the desired probability. Any questions so far? Okay, so now long time back we had also seen. So let's do an example just to get an idea of how this will work. So let's take an example that we know what's the probability of. So my question is, what is the probability that x belongs to the interval 0 to 0.5? We all know, since the length is 0.5, this has to give us an answer 0.5. So let's use the new machine that we have invented, and let's try to see if that gives the same answer. So what we are supposed to do is integrate between 0 to 0.5. Okay, and what is the value of f of x between 0 to 1? It's going to be 1, right? So it is going to be 1 dx. So this will give us a value. When we integrate, we will get x, and now I'm putting 0 to 0.5. So this will give us the answer 0.5. So this approach seems to actually work. Okay, so now this is a very good thing, and it turns out that this is enough. So if whenever you are talking about continuous random variables, all you need to do, so let me write this since it is so important. We can define a density function. Okay, a probability density function. Let me write that, such that you are going to just do the same procedure. So let's say this is a probability density function of some random variable x. Okay, so this is fx of x. Now if I need to find out the area, like what's the chance that it falls in an interval between this interval. Okay, so let's say this is this. So now if I want to say what's the chance that it falls between b and a, so this, if this I want to do, if I'm able to define the density function, okay, and so this requires some advanced math to show that this density function always exists for the random variables that we are interested in. But for you, since this is a beginning course, you just assume that this density exists. Okay, and this is going to be b to a fx of x dx. So this is it. So all you need to do is that you should be able to define a density function, and you will be able to do this operation straight away. Okay, and yeah, so the way to understand this is like, so let's take a point here. Okay, so what is the meaning of fx of this s? Suppose if we want to understand that, so this is a point s. What you need to understand is that this is useful to define this quantity. So basically, what is the probability that, so if this was mass function, if this was mass function, this was going to be probability that x is equal to s, right? This is what we know. But in the case of continuous random variable, we know that any particular point, since the length of that point is 0, okay, this is always going to be 0. Since the length of a single point is always 0, for a continuous random variable, this is going to be 0. Why is that? Because you are going to integrate from fx of x dx between the same limits. When you try to integrate between the same limit, you're going to get 0. Okay, so we will not have the same meaning for f of x as we had for probability mass function. So probability mass function was a probability, whereas this is not exactly a probability. What it is this. This is going to be basically, okay, so if you draw this, you take a very, very small interval of length delta. So basically this fx of s is going to be this. So we are going to approximate, since this is a very small interval, the length is roughly a constant. We will call that as fx of s. The width of this is delta. So the probability that this shaded region over here, okay, this is the probability that x lies between s and s plus delta. So approximately speaking, this is fx of s into delta. So that is the understanding. So let me just recap, since this is such an important concept. What you had previously for discrete random variable was this. Okay, this was probability that x is equal to s. Okay, this is point number 1. Point number 2, if x is continuous, okay, so that means if I ask the question, what is the probability x is equal to single value s, this is going to be this integration, right? Plus s to plus s. I'm sorry to write that plus s. That doesn't make any sense. I'm just going to integrate the density function between the same limits. That's the way the density function has been defined. Okay, so this is going to be 0 because any single point does not have any length. So this is point number 2. Point number 3 is probability that you take a small interval around the point of interest. That is where your fx of s will be useful. So don't forget this product delta. Okay, you have to multiply a small interval delta to make this density into a probability. Otherwise, this is just a number. Okay, this is a number. So are these 3 points clear to everybody? Let me look at the chat windows to see if someone has any. Okay. So let's try to understand, let's answer what's Siddhant's question. So Siddhant is asking us to define the density. So the definition of density is basically a thing. So every continuous random variable okay. Oh, sorry. So every continuous random variable has a probability density function such that this property is true. Probability that x belongs to some interval b is the integration with respect to that density. Okay, this is all I can say for this course. Technically, if you want to speak very, very precisely, this is also called as Redon derivative. Okay, this is a name. Okay, if you want, you can search it, but I recommend not to go into that direction. But it's a meaningful mathematical concept. But that's the way to define it. But since we cannot go to that technical depth, all I am saying is whenever you have a continuous random variable, think of a density function. Assume that it is provided to you already. Somebody gives it to you. Okay, and the property that the density function enjoys is that you can use that to get probabilities of nice intervals. Okay, you can use to compute probabilities that you are interested in by using a simple integration. That's the idea of density function. Okay, and some immediate properties. What are all the immediate properties? So one thing is certain, right? Because when you are taking this density function, you cannot have negative value. Okay, because if there is a portion with negative value, you can find a small interval there and you will get probability as negative. So f of x has to be a positive value. That is point number 1. Point number 2 is that if you integrate over the entire possible range the random variable can take, this will be equal to 1. All right. So these are some of the immediate properties of a density function. Siddhant, any other questions? Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. So just one more thing. Can we say that f of x has no physical meaning unless it is being integrated with d of x, dx?
Yes, f of x is always coming with the continuous random variable. It does not, I mean, it is a function like any other function, but it has to be put together with the context of your random variable. Then only it will make sense. Yeah? Yeah.
Great, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so there are some, so now we have spent so much time doing like the discrete random variables. The good thing is all of the things that you have been doing in discrete random variables, the same ideas will go through in continuous random variables. So let's try to do that. what I'm trying to say. So let's do a visual comparison between discrete and continuous. So first thing that we did was in discrete random variable, we had this, right? When you sum over px x, you will get this as 1. So this was, you can think like you take the small x in all the range you can take. Now for the continuous thing, this is going to be integration. Okay, the second thing that you can do is like, if I want to find out what is the probability, so let me just write this clearly. So probability that x, some random variable which is discrete, lies in an interval b. What do? I just going to sum all these points, right? I will just do this. The same thing happens here. Instead of doing this, I will integrate over that set b and this. So this is what I will get in continuous. Okay. And then we had expectation of x. So what was this? Expectation of x was x px of x. This is what we did. Okay. Now here in continuous, what we will get, you have to integrate over all possible values. Here also, you know, we actually summed over all possible values in the range. Okay. Now here we will have x fx of x dx. So all these things are happening. So there is a one-to-one correspondence between all the formulas that you learned for discrete, and then whenever you want to think of the analogous thing in continuous, you just have to like change the summation to integration. That is all the things that is required. Okay. So let's see. Actually, there is one more which I missed. I have made a note of it so that I can just say. So what was the other thing that we saw? So variance of x. So variance of x was x minus ex whole squared px. Right. This will be also very similar. You will have x minus ex whole square f of x dx. Okay, so you can see there is one-to-one correspondence between all of this. Then expected value of g of x also we saw. This was summation g of x px of x, right? This is what we did. So this again will have, so I should not say equal, these are two different paradigms, but here also you will have gx fx of x dx. All right, so there is one-to-one correspondence between all of these quantities. Okay, so that is one very nice thing about doing discrete random variables properly, and then continuous random variables just follow immediately. So yeah, so this is so far I know that we are kind of going through this fast, but my belief is that you have done discrete random variables well, and you have also seen the video, so this should not be that surprising to you now. Okay, so moving on. So one of the things that we already saw was, so the stick breaking example is actually called as a uniform random variable. So stick breaking example is uniform random variable. So stick breaking example is a uniform random variable, and this takes a PDF which looks like this. Okay. So this takes a value is between 0 to 1. Okay, and this was a thing. So now this is a uniform random variable between 0 to 1. What you can also do is define this between 2 points which are not necessarily 0, 1. Let's call them A and B. Okay. Now, what will be this value? So let's try to understand that. Okay. So the area of the shaded region is 1, that we know. Fx of x, if I integrate between B, A and B, This is going to be 1. Okay, but what is this area of shaded region? This is A, so A minus B into whatever this value is, okay, into, say, let's say this value is V. So this is what it is. This has to be 1. So that means V is equal to 1 over A minus B. So this is 1 over A minus B. Okay, so that's it. So these are all some easy things that you can show. So what is expected value of X? So let's compute this for the general uniform random variable. So again, this will be integration between A and B. So 1 by A minus B. Okay, that is what is, this is nothing but our fx of x, okay, dx. So let's try to do that. So I have to have x as well, right? So this is x. So this is x fx dx. So that is what is expectation of x. If you see here, right? X fx dx. So now, if you do this, what we will get is 1 over a minus b is here, okay? And this will be x squared over 2. And the limits will be between a and b. So this will be b squared minus a squared by 2 into I'm sorry, yeah, b
So
minus
it should be b minus a.
b minus a. I'm sorry, this is not the length is not a minus b, it is actually b minus a. Okay, so I did a mistake. So this is b minus a. So everything is b minus a. So b squared minus a squared divided by 2 into b minus a. So that is going to be b plus a by 2. Okay, so this is what is variance. And now that is easy, right? Because we have understood that the expectation is nothing but center of mass. So that center of mass for a uniform solid like this has to be in between these two. So the midpoint between a and b is a plus b by 2. Okay, so that is why you get the same thing. So you can use this to compute even variance and so on, but I will leave that for you to do at a later point. Okay. So this is as far as uniform is concerned. So let's try to develop a few more things in this. All right. So now one of the things that we have learned for discrete, what was that? So that was also, there was one thing that we learned, which was cumulative distribution function. Okay. So what was that? So in case of discrete, let's write that. So this was f of b is equal to probability that x is less than or equal to b. So what we did was we just summed px of small x, where small x belongs to, I mean, it's in the range less than b. Small x is less than or equal to b. This is what we did. We summed over all possible probabilities such that you consider all possible values less than or equal to b. Now the same idea in continuous random variable will continue to hold. Okay, so you take the continuous random variable, you have f of b. Okay, so this is probability that x is less than b. Now here, instead of this, it will be an integration. So integration of all the real values which are less than b. So that is another way to write that is this. Okay. All right, so these are all some nice things that you will get. Now, now let us do one interesting property, so let's consider f of, instead of taking a fixed value, let us consider a variable value, which is x. So what is this going to be? It is going to be minus infinity to x, okay, fx of some dummy variable. Let's call this dummy variable as s ds, okay. Now, I hope this is nothing, I mean, I hope you don't get confused because I have changed the variable to s. Variable of integration can be changed freely. That doesn't change the value of integration. This is a definite integral, okay? But the upper limit is a variable. I have kept it as a variable. Now, the interesting thing that I want to do, you would have learned in your class 12th that derivative and antiderivative or the integral are opposites of each other, okay? So using that idea, if I take the derivative of this capital F of x with respect to x, what I'm going to get is going to be fx of small x. So this is another interpretation, okay? So you know one interpretation of the density function as the probability around a small interval around the point of interest. That was one interpretation. The second interpretation, what I'm giving you here, is that all you need to do is take the derivative of the CDF. You are going to get the density function. All right. So this is the second interpretation. So this is going to be very useful. You will see. Okay. This has lots of applications. We will do that possibly tomorrow. The applications that you get because of this. So now let's just do one quick computation just to understand this better. So we will draw the CDF for the uniform random variable. So let's take a general uniform random variable. Okay. This is 1 over b minus a. Okay. So one thing is sure, there is no area under the curve for all of this because this is 0. So it will be this is the CDF, which is capital Fx of x. So I'm trying to draw the CDF. So this will be 0, taking the value 0 till a. Okay. For an intermediate value x, what is the value going to be? So this is going to be x into b minus a. Okay. So for an intermediate value x, this will be x into b minus a. Why? Because fx of x is going to be this shaded curve, right? This is the probability that x takes a value less than x. So it's equal to this area of the shaded curve. And that is nothing but x minus a, sorry, I missed that, x minus a into b minus a. And when the value takes equal to b, if I apply, this is going to be b minus a divided by b minus a, which is going to be 1. All right. Okay, so I think there were a lot of concepts that we discussed here. So maybe I shouldn't. Yeah. So there is one thing which is out of the syllabus for this course. It is basically a combination of. It's called as a mixed distribution. Okay. Let me try to explain what is a mixed distribution. So this is out of syllabus, but you still need to understand. I mean, I'm keeping it out of syllabus. It's not too difficult to learn, but I will just, for the simplicity's sake, we will not discuss too much on this. So basically, if you see all discrete random variables, okay, at discrete points, there was some probability. Okay, all the random variables that you have been seeing, C geometric, okay, and C Poisson. So for a given integer point, right? There was some finite probability greater than 0 for some of the points. So this is called, that's why it was called as a mass function. There is some mass on that point. Okay. For the continuous random variable, since we have the associated density, and when we try to find out probability for any given point, we are basically going to integrate the density over a single point. So the upper limit and the lower limit will be the same. So the probability for a given point was 0, right? But a mixed distribution is one where you have both these properties. Okay. So you have some points where there is a mass, and then you have some other place where you can take the area under the curve, you have a density. So it's a mixed distribution, it's a combination of these two. Okay. This is something that we will omit. Okay. It's not too hard. I'm not omitting because it is too hard. I'm omitting because it has limited applications. All right. So yeah, so I think this is quite a lot of material for one class. So let me just summarize, and then if we have some time, we will do something. So let's just quickly summarize. So what we began this class by a recap of discrete random variables. The important concept there was there is a something called as a the probability mass function, which is like what's the probability for a given point. Okay. Now, when you come to continuous random variables, since we are talking about the probability being spread out over a range, there is any point does not have a mass. What it has is a density. Okay, and this is associated with every continuous random variable that you can think of. What we will learn in this course. And if you want to find out what's the probability for a region of interest, all you need to do is you need to integrate that density over that range, that as I'm showing here. Okay, and this was the second topic that we understood. The idea for this came from the uniform random variable, where the length, the probability that you fall in a range depends upon that length, right? And then we saw that you can integrate, and area under the curve gives that. So that same idea generalizes for all kinds of continuous random variables. We will see a lot of examples later. And thereafter, what we understood was this idea that the density can be thought of as a small, like around a small interval around that point. You can think of density as the product of the length of that interval times the density, or at that point. So that's what we showed in property number 3. Further, we understood that f of x has to be something which is always greater than 0, and integration of f of x over the entire possible range is 1. Okay, these are all the things that we have learned. Now, further, we also observed that these, whatever concepts that we have been learning in discrete random variable, has a continuous counterpart. The counterpart is obtained by merely changing the summation to an integration, and probability mass function to a probability density function. Okay, it just follows for all the things that we have done for discrete, has same type of analog. Then we did a computation for the uniform random variable. For the general uniform random variable, which takes a value between a and b, we derived what's the expectation of x. Then the next important concept that we learned today was the idea of cumulative distribution function. This is not a new idea, you have learned it before, but the interesting thing that happens for a cumulative distribution function is that when you take its derivative for a continuous random variable, you are going to get the density function as a byproduct. So if you take the cumulative distributive function as a function of x, you take its derivative, you are going to get density function. Okay, so that is what we did. And yeah, so then we said we will omit mixed distributions. Okay, so all right, so I think so I'm going to talk about tomorrow what is called as a Gaussian distribution. So let me just briefly talk about it, but we will discuss more properties of this tomorrow. Okay, so the Gaussian distribution x, okay, so it is defined by 2 parameters. Okay, so it's also called as normal. Okay, it is defined by 2 parameters, which is called mu and sigma squared. Okay, so mu is actually going to be expectation of x, and sigma squared is going to be variance of x. Okay, so this is an interesting thing, right? See, all throughout, whenever you learned probability mass function, you had to know the probability for every point. Okay, but for the Gaussian random variable, if you know that it is Gaussian or if it is normal, and if you know the expectation of x and variance of x, that is sufficient. You know everything about that random variable. Okay, so that is a nice thing that is true for Gaussian random variables. Okay, the idea is now since I'm telling Gaussian random variable is a continuous random variable, what we need to define is its density. So the density of this random variable is going to be this. Somebody has a question? Okay, so this is going to be the density of this, and let's try to understand how this will look. So x minus mu whole squared. Okay, so if you look at this first term, this is going to be, if you ignore the negative sign for a moment, and if you look at mu, x minus mu will be like a parabola. Okay, and x minus mu negative will be like a opposite thing. It will be like a bell. Okay, so what you are doing is like you are taking e power this. So whenever you exponentiate, even with a negative value, okay, e power any number. So even if it is negative, let's say even if it's negative 5, what does that mean? It is actually 1 over e power 5. Okay, so all these numbers are positive. Okay, so that is one thing. So we required that the density has to be positive, right? So that is one thing. Furthermore, what it does is it allows if you really draw the density function, what you will get is a bell shape. Okay, and the bell shape, the center of the bell shape is going to be at mu. It is going to be perfectly symmetrical here and symmetrical here. That is also easy to understand because e power minus x squared is symmetric about mu. So this is going to be symmetric on both sides. Your sigma will change the shape. Okay, this is for one particular sigma. If this sigma reduces, what you will get is a higher peak. Okay, so this is something about the normal density, normal distribution function. Okay, and if you recollect, I have been giving you programming assignments, right? And whenever you did any distribution, like some of you who have already done, like Advay, he was saying he has already done, right? So whenever you do multiple trials and when you do the estimate and plot the histogram always comes out like a bell curve, mostly. Okay, so this is going to be a crucial result, which is called a central limit theorem. Okay. So this bell curve occurs everywhere, and that is why this is such an important random variable, and we will discuss more about these things tomorrow. Okay, so I think this is sufficient introduction for Gaussian. So tomorrow we will have, during the last 15 to 20 minutes, we will have the quiz. We will begin the class by first talking about the Gaussian random variables. Okay, and yeah, so that's about it. I think I don't want to push this further. I don't want to have too many things in this class. I mean, for this particular class, I think this is enough. So are there any questions from students?
Hello.
Yeah, Tushar.
Sir, we have also discussed conditional probabilities, conditional mass function, probability mass function.
Yeah.
So the density function will behave the same way?
Yes, so I will talk about the conditional density functions later. But yeah, it will behave the same way. Yeah, so if you have seen the lecture videos by MIT professor, you would have seen this, but we will again talk about it. It's an important topic. So we will come to that. Maybe it's not possible that this will happen this week. So after your midterm, we will discuss this in detail. So as I said, in midterm, I will ask you some simple questions related to continuous probability. So it's a good idea to go through all the lectures by the MIT professor that I have shared with you. Okay, just go through all of them. Focus more on discrete and axioms and conditional probability, Bayes rule, all those things. But when you come to continuous, at least go through all of the lectures and try to understand the ideas there. Don't have to get into too many details. Okay. All right. So any other questions besides this? Okay. If there is no other questions, then we will stop here. So good luck for the quiz tomorrow. And yeah, that's about it. Okay. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So